Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new episode of Shopify Growth Strategies series. I'm Wail Amrani, your show host, also Shopify expert and e-commerce growth specialist. I'm CEO of Atamgo Media Advertising Agency, where we can help sellers to scale their online business. I have developed a search and digital marketing strategies for a variety of clients, from international brands, from small and medium businesses to large ones. I help keep businesses ahead of the competition by researching and monitoring the latest trends in digital marketing and paid media advertising. And in behalf of myself and the entire team at Atango, I'm excited to welcome you to a new episode of Shopify Growth Strategies series. Today's topic is about e-commerce trends for 2023. We will see together how the e-commerce industry is expected to continue its growth trajectory in 2023 and beyond. Our guest will be joining us in just a few moments, and he is going to share with us some e-commerce trends for 2023 you don't want to miss. I want to introduce today's special guest joining us from Ireland, and his name is Thomas Gleeson. If you don't know who Thomas is, you need to. Thomas is in fact a co-founder of Storehero, the profit-first e-commerce analytics tool. Thomas has spent the last 10 years in the e-commerce industry. He comes from a family business that solely focused on e-commerce for 18 years, and he established his first commerce store at 19 years old. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your knowledge and expertise on this topic. We cannot hear you, Thomas.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a podcast without a technical difficulty. Thanks very much for having me on the pod. It's an honor.
Thank you very much. We are really excited to have you on the show. We are really excited to learn from you, from your expertise, to share your knowledge regarding this interesting topic.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I grew up in a house with e-commerce. My mother's had an e-commerce business called wowwe.ie that specializes in personalized gifts. She probably started that business in 2003, 2004. So we grew up in a house with e-commerce at the kitchen table. Instead of hoovering the hall, we might have had to do SEO on her website. We learned about the importance of things like product photography, the pains of broken checkouts, of abandoned cart rates, all that kind of thing. As Wail mentioned at the show, I had my first e-commerce store selling personalized kids books at 19, and I had another store selling kind of artificial plants, pots, that kind of thing when I was about 21. I spent the last 3.5 years at Shopify. I saw brands of all shapes and sizes, industries, geographies. So when it comes to e-commerce, I've seen it all. Thanks very much for having me on the show, Will. I think we're going to discuss some of the e-commerce trends for 2023. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. We will discuss this interesting topic. But for those who are watching the live stream, I'm going to share with you our show offline, okay? So we will start with the first question. What are the factors driving the increased adoption of the EA and ML in the industry? As you know, in overall, there are multiple factors that are driving increased adoption of EA and ML. Since many businesses are looking for improving their operations, gain a competitive advantage, and meet the growing demands in expectation of their customers. So would you share with us what are those main factors? Then we will see how has the acceleration of the omnichannel retail impact the shopping experience across channels. We will see also how has social commerce impact the traditional e-commerce landscape. How has the use of the AR and VR for product displays impact the traditional product display landscape? And finally, we will see what are the benefits and the challenges of using data to drive decision in e-commerce. So let's start with the first question. Come up, okay? The first question is, what are the factors driving the increased adoption of the AI and ML in the industry?
Yeah, no, really good question to kick things off. So yeah, I suppose if we go back even to the start of time, any business owner, any entrepreneur, everyone has always been looking for better ways, more efficient ways to do whatever it is they're working it on, whether that is in a business, at home, on TV, whatever it is. Artificial intelligence and machine learning represent two major technological shifts, I suppose, that have happened, particularly over the last maybe 2 to 3 years, but even more so in the last number of months. We're really starting to see some of the real benefits and use cases for AI really starting to come into play, particularly in e-commerce. I'm not sure if you saw yesterday in the Shopify editions release, they did announce Shopify Magic, which is going to be kind of a product detail, an ability for you to write your own product copy directly within Shopify, just literally by hitting a button. I know myself from starting a couple of different businesses down the years, if you have a number of different products, product copy is obviously extremely important. And like even the best writers in the world, business owners can hit writer's block. So if you can put in your product information, a bit of a basic description, Shopify can now generate the product description for you. So, I mean, that's just one use case. Unless you've been hiding under a rock over the last couple of months, I think we've all heard and seen, and most of us have used ChatGPT at this stage. Even through the lens of Shopify, again, I was looking at the Shopify Flow interconnector with OpenAI. The use cases there around building the SEO strategy, building in your meta fields and stuff like that is incredible, massive time saver. So again, I suppose when we are looking at factors driving change in e-commerce through the lens of AI and ML, I see a limitless opportunity. I also think we're probably on the cusp of something that we probably don't even understand yet. If we were to go back and look at social media even 10 years ago, the beast that it has morphed into, I think we're probably on the cusp of something similar with AI and ML as well, which is quite incredible. There is a number of different use cases, again, I suppose, following on from ChatGPT and Flow and Shopify Magic, that could be quite interesting. Through, I suppose, e-commerce is just data, whether it's financial data, marketing data, or whatever it is. The big data analytics, being able to actually crunch those numbers and see what's happening in real time for the first time, I think is going to give business owners a big leg up and a big, probably better insight to their own business than maybe that they might have had before. I think we're going to see personalized product recommendations really get a hell of a lot better. It's been quite difficult in times gone by to do that, but now with AI, with ML, we're going to be able to create kind of hyperscale kind of hyper personalized content. So your customers are going to get products served to them when they want it and how they want it, which I think is going to be amazing. What else? I suppose we could look at things like pricing optimization. I have seen some potential tools used on some of the initial Shopify stores I would have been working with previously, where you can split test your product prices using AI, using ML, and just obviously split test a higher price with a lower price, kind of compare your margins and ultimately see what works best for the business. So again, you're removing, I think AI and ML will remove a lot of the need to rely on your gut feeling a lot of the time. Not that that's a bad thing. I think gut feeling is often a really clear indicator that you should or shouldn't do something. But yeah, I think AI as a whole will just enable business owners to make better kind of data-driven decisions as a whole.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for your answer. I would like also to add some additional information because also I have I'm happy different clients that are always looking for growing their business, and they are looking for increasing demand of automation. They need tools that give them more chance automate their daily tasks. Okay, and also to have like real-time decision making, so that they can like quickly resolve their daily issues, take action when it comes, for example, to change the product landing page or to text some, headlines, colors, or pricing. So I think the AI, I think using some tools, okay, will really help those sellers to increase their ROA, store conversion, because they will have like the opportunity to test multiple versions, for example, of product landing page, multiple sales funnels, and those sellers will definitely benefit from this technology.
Definitely. I think that's a really, really valid point. Like, even if you look at things like stable. Sorry, could you just put yourself on mute there? I'm just getting a bit of feedback there. Things like stable AI, or stable diffusion, sorry, in the realms of creating video or image content and that kind of thing. The opportunities are limitless, I think, here. And just as you kind of touched on there, being able to split test those landing pages, those conversion rates, the product pages, to really just hammer home and make the decisions based on data rather than gut feeling, I think will only benefit businesses in the long run.
Yeah, sure. Our next question is, how has the acceleration of the omnichannel retail impact the shopping experiences across channels?
Yeah, really good question. Again, I think this is a really, really important one. I suppose we start with defining what omnichannel is. It's denoting or relating commerce that integrates with different methods of interaction available to the customer. So I think this is a really, really interesting one because it varies massively on geography. I mean, we're predominantly used to, in Western Europe and even in the States, to dealing with storefronts, whether that be just your Shopify store. If we go to Southeast Asia, to China, I think, particularly in China, I think 90% of online shopping is done through marketplaces, which is obviously a stark contrast to what we have here. But omnichannel means a number of different things in that context. So it means your physical store, you means your marketplaces, but also physical retail. I think COVID did a number of interesting things when it comes to omnichannel shopping. I think it has been more important now to allow shoppers to shop wherever they want and having that unified experience between online and physical retail. From speaking to a number of business owners and even locally here in Ireland as well, a lot of business owners maybe would have had a physical store before COVID, and then they got into the realm of kind of selling online and saw the benefits there. And there's definitely an inverse effect there as well, where where they might have had a physical store, then they went online for the first time, and now they have an issue where they have an online store and a physical store and they're not connected. So having that omnichannel, that maybe the Shopify POS in store, will allow them to kind of get that unified inventory and just kind of manage everything in one place. I suppose another side to this, from the omnichannel perspective, is, I'm not sure if you saw the Shopify Commerce Trends report last week that came out, but it was really interesting. One of the key notes that popped out to me there was that for a physical presence, brands that set up a physical presence, the physical presence almost acts as a billboard for their brands. So they do see an average uplift of about 37% more web traffic in the quarter after opening a physical store. So, I mean, if we're looking through the lens of rising CPAs, cost of advertising getting infinitely more expensive, brands are going to be reevaluating the unit economics here of the opportunities that exist through physical retail, and just seeing, is it worth it? Like, brands that maybe would have been e-commerce first are now starting to delve into the realm of physical retail. Even look at Gymshark and their new store in Regent Street in London. So it's definitely an interesting shift, and one I would see continuing as we kind of progress forward.
Yes, definitely. I would say also, with the acceleration of the omnichannel retail, we can have like a seamless shopping experience. And the omnichannel retail enables customers to easily switch between shopping channels and pick up where they left off, allowing for the smooth and seamless shopping experience. So I would say, on overall, the acceleration of omnichannel retail has greatly impacted shopping experiences, providing customers with greater convenience, personalized and improved inventory management, and better customer service.
Yeah, no, I would agree with all of the above. Another interesting feature I have seen employed quite a lot would have been the send cart feature. So I think we're all familiar at this stage with you get to the checkout of a website and then you maybe don't check out, and an hour later you get that email offering you the discount. A lot of business owners with Shopify POS have started to use the send cart features. So if, for instance, I'm shopping for a bike, I'm in a bike shop that has Shopify POS and I'm not maybe ready to make the purchase, the store owner can now use their physical retail, their physical store, to send me an email with a link of the product and a checkout feature. So even if I came into the shop and saw the product and liked it, I could check out at home. So again, just kind of to the point you touched on there of unifying the physical and the online experience as one. I think it's going to be a game changer for everyone.
Yes, definitely. Now we will move to the third question. How has social commerce impacted the traditional e-commerce landscape?
Yeah, no, really good question. I think if we look at commerce trends for 2023, it's also important to go back in time first and look at how social commerce has changed the e-commerce landscape over the last 10 years. I mean, if I even think back to our own family business at home, it was probably only 10 years ago when we started posting on Facebook, originally getting customers that way about new products we were launching, about new campaigns we were running. They were probably the Helicon days of Facebook advertising, where you got massive organic reach without needing to probably pay for it. Facebook figured out then that they had probably a lot more data than they really anticipated at their fingertips and could charge a hell of a lot of money for it. So like even going back 10 years ago, that was how social commerce started impacting the e-commerce landscape. Obviously, that transpired then into being able to hyper target your customers. That has got a lot more difficult over the last year and a half, 2 years, with the introduction of different privacy policies around iOS 14 and so everything else like that. So I think it's just important to realize where we've come from in the last 10 years and also what could be ahead of us in that impact. Through that lens, I mean, I think like when we look at social commerce, you have to bring everything together between omni-channel, social commerce. People will shop wherever it is, from social media, whether it's live streaming. I think we're going to see commerce integrating anywhere where anyone is consuming any kind of content, which is quite interesting. Some of the key trends I think for the next couple of years will be definitely around live streaming. I see TikTok have launched their live streaming product in the UK. Hasn't quite reached Ireland just yet. I think the live streaming piece is going to be huge, to be honest with you. I was lucky enough to attend a e-commerce expo in Singapore in October, and live streaming is how e-commerce is done in Southeast Asia. For some reason, I'm not quite sure why, it hasn't taken the foothold it has in the US or in EMEA just yet, but I do think it's definitely on the way. It really has taken off massively in APAC and in Southeast Asia. So I'm sure that would be a really big feature of what's to come. There is a number of apps in Shopify that are enabling merchants to kind of go through this live shopping route. And obviously with the introduction of TikTok Shop, people are already getting on that band in the UK at the moment as well. Another interesting trend I think we're going to see over the last couple of months, I think we've all seen an announcement from Netflix and Disney to shop directly online when you're you're watching your series, watching your movies, that kind of thing. So again, going back to this theme, I suppose, of customers wanting to shop wherever they're consuming content, and ultimately everywhere becoming a sales channel for brands to actually get their product out there and ultimately into the hands of customers. social commerce is only going to be on the rise. The number of social media channels is only going to be on the rise. It's really, really important for brands to ultimately build their strong communities out there, get people involved, and get people following and posting about their brand. There's the social media landscape has evolved massively. I mean, over the last number of years, the ability, the trends, the overall features, and obviously the commerce integrations on top of all that have been yeah, they've been amazing. I mean, that I don't think anyone would have foresaw 10 years ago the state we're in now. So through that lens as well, it's really difficult to even say for sure. I mean, we can all make guesses and make predictions, but it's really difficult to say for sure where we'll be in 10 years' time. So it's an interesting space to follow for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much for your answer. I would say also that, the social commerce has improved the customer trust. The social commerce allows customers to see how products are used and reviewed by their friends and other users. And this can increase the customer trust in the product and the brand, leading to increased sales. Also, regarding my experience with using the social commerce, this can also help to reduce the advertising costs because social commerce provides an alternative to traditional advertising, which can be expensive. So, by leveraging user-generated content and influencer marketing, brands can now reach their target audience in a more cost-effective manner.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Sure.
And even going back to the Shopify Editions launch that came out yesterday, there was a feature. I'm not sure if you saw it on Shopify Collabs. So it has been something that they have been working on for a number of years, but it's really started to improve again immensely, in fact, over the last number of months. So it's a way for you to manage your relationships with creators, with influencers, track payments, track who's got what, and actually discover new influencers and creators that may be within your industry. So I'm sure a lot of our audience here today are either operating on Shopify or quite interested in the ecosystem. So Shopify Collabs is definitely one to keep keep on top of and keep an eye on there. Just again through the lens of what you kind of touched on there, on it being a bit more of a affordable or better return, a better ROI on your investment than maybe some traditional media outlets.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. In the meantime, we would like to know how has the use of the ER and VR for product displays impact the traditional product display landscape?
Yeah, really good question. The AR and VR, I suppose, from my side, I do think AR is probably a lot closer to improving the product display experience than VR. Now, again, I think that's probably more of a hardware issue right now. Meta are obviously really going down that line of the VR, and who knows where that's going to come. But right now, I think the AR landscape or the prospects or possibilities in AR probably seem a bit more tangible and a bit closer to reality than ultimately VR at scale, in my opinion. I suppose for product displays, AR, what can it do? It can enhance the product experience, improve customer engagement, increase your sales conversion. If you can actually see a much more live and realistic version of a product, I think you're going to be much more inclined to trust its authenticity, its your satisfaction, and ultimately your confidence in the brand and the product itself, and really drive that conversion rate and boost it as much as possible. Again, I think for AR, it's going to allow more of a personalized shopping experience. I'm not sure if you saw a couple of months ago, a number of brands have started to do this, particularly in the furniture space. So you can pick a table or you can pick a mirror or whatever it is, and actually turn your camera on and put it up in your room and actually see how it looks on the wall. Albeit the graphics and the imagery is quite rudimentary at the moment. I think we have to be patient with it. It's very new and it will only improve. I mean, this is the kind of thing I think we could look back on in 10 years' time and think, well, I remember we were really impressed with that. But there's a long way to go, but they're making huge strides there as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, really interesting. Also, I would say I want to add that this can also reduce a physical inventory costs. With ER and VR, this will allow retailers to display their product without the need for physical inventory. And this can result in cost savings and reduced waste, as well as allowing retailers to offer a wider range of product customers. Also, the technology will help, sellers to enhance the product demonstrations, as you said, so customers can see and have a great experience with those products in a way that was previously not possible. For example, customers can try one clothes virtually or see how furniture would look in their homes before making a purchase.
Definitely. I think you've touched on some really, really interesting use cases there for it. Yeah, even for fashion, I think it's the possibilities here. I mean, it's a really lucrative problem for the fashion industry to solve, particularly in e-commerce. I think we all know people who, I do myself the odd time, I'm probably ashamed to say, we order a lot of stuff online from a fashion retailer, see what fits correctly, and then send the rest back. I think if you can get the AR correct and get that in, just get that a lot better and make the sizing a bit better and even just the look and feel of the product a lot better through the lens of AR, you'll massively impact that returns rate. And ultimately, returns are profitability killers for a lot of brands out there. I mean, they really, really are. So if you can reduce the returns rate by a factor of 10, 15, 20%, the e-commerce brands would see a massive difference to their bottom line. So I think we're probably going to see AR for that reason probably improve a lot quicker in the fashion space, just because I know from working with some of the brands that it is quite a massive issue, the level of returns. So yeah, it'll be an interesting space to watch for sure.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. So one other more trend which is really important is the data drive decisions. So what are the benefits and the challenges of using data to drive decisions in e-commerce?
Perfect. Just before I actually move on to this one, I'd love to touch on the mini programs release that happened yesterday within the Shopify Editions piece as well, which I think has kind of flown under the radar with a lot of the commentary that I've seen online with it. The mini programs essentially will enable you to build your own app within the Shop app itself. So a lot of it maybe Apple or developers or Shopify app developers who might have missed the initial boat of building for Shopify when it wasn't the absolute monster it is today, can get in on this kind of second wave of what I think will be a massive opportunity. Mini programs as a whole, particularly again, if we look towards China, WeChat has built their whole business on, I suppose, executing a really, really big mini WeChat mini program strategy. Sorry, it's a bit of a tongue twister there. I think if we go over to China, there's over 1.2 billion people logging into WeChat every day. Over 50% of them are making purchases through these mini programs. So I think there's a massive opportunity there to build new mini programs within the Shop app. And that kind of ties back to the last point there on the VR and on the AR. Before we came on there, I was having a look at some of the examples that were listed. You can see beauty brands, you can see furniture brands. They're all leveraging that AR and mainly that AR at the moment, but I can only imagine that will morph into a VR down the line as well. But I think there's a massive opportunity there with the Shopify mini programs release to see how it develops over the coming year.
Absolutely. I would say also we have some really a challenge of using this data to drive decision in e-commerce. I think data privacy concerns. So collecting and using customer data can raise concerns about privacy and security, which can impact customer trust in e-commerce businesses. Do you agree?
Definitely. I suppose my biggest challenges from our family business in, I suppose, the challenges, but also the benefits in using customer data. Like our family business would have been built predominantly on search engine optimization as opposed to the main go-to-market strategies for brands today, which is a bit of SEO, but predominantly paid advertising and working with influencers and creators. So the SEO strategy was just because we were so worried that paid advertising wasn't really a thing back then, as much, nowhere near to the level that it is today, obviously. Yeah, we built the business up for a good number of years. It was quite difficult then. Again, I would only be helping out. I suppose in my time at Shopify, what I was doing was trying to pull the operational expenses of running the business, maybe the core Shopify KPIs, so not just your sales, but your returning customer rate, your average order value, your checkout rates, your abandoned cart rates, all that kind of thing, your Google Analytics, your Facebook ads, your Google ads, your Klaviyo analytics. I mean, today, if you're running an e-commerce store, you could be pulling scattered data from nearly 20 different sources. The growing list of platforms that you have to integrate with is it's ever increasing, unfortunately. So what I was doing was actually bringing that onto a single line of a spreadsheet each week. It was painfully manual. It would probably take two hours on a Monday evening. But what I did see was the value that my mother would get out of actually having this data at her fingertips. And when we touch on, I suppose, the benefits of using data to drive decisions, in my house, my dad is the accountant, but I suppose it's probably how we got into actually launching Storehero, where I did see an issue where often my advice would be, okay, we need to increase the ad spend this week, and I would bring this to him, and he would say, well, ROAS doesn't tell me this, it doesn't tell me that, it doesn't take into account cost of goods, doesn't take into account any operational expenses. And initially I was thinking, oh, maybe he just doesn't get it. But then when you actually dive into it, I realized he was spot on. ROAS doesn't really tell you a whole lot. And I think the growth levers that brands might have had at their fingertips over the last number of years, CPMs, incredibly cheap, really cost effective. You put more money into the jukebox and the orders came in being paid advertising. And you didn't really need to be as dialed in on your unit economics, I suppose, of your paid advertising, because the returns on investment, the ROAS, was so high. But I think post iOS 14, post all the privacy policies you kind of touched on there as well, ads have got infinitely more expensive, and brands that know their numbers, that really have a firm handle on their data, are the ones that are going to not only survive but also thrive in 2023. So I think it's more important than ever to understand your data, to have a good handle on it, to be tracking it regularly, and to understand your unit economics and where you're profitable and where you're not.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Another, big challenge, which is integration. Okay. I think integrating data from multiple sources can be challenging and time consuming and may require specialized skills and resources. So how can we deal with this big, challenge? Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a number of different ways to look at it, I suppose. It's probably why we've launched Storehero in the way we have. Sorry, if you just pop yourself on mute there. Sorry, I don't mean to keep saying that. So with Storehero, what we've done is built a profit-first analytics platform to enable business owners to make data-driven decisions on everything that's going on in their business. So we've combined all your data from your Shopify, your Google Analytics, your Search Console, your Google ads, your Facebook ads, your TikTok ads. We are platform agnostic, so we do hook into any of the other major e-commerce platforms as well. But I suppose we've built the platform on four core pillars. So data, analytics, insights, and recommendations. So with the data element, what we do is enable you to, for the first time, compile your data from all your multiple scattered sources into a single dashboard. And we also enable you to input your cost structure into Storehero. From there, in the analysis piece, we, for the first time, kind of crunched all the data, crunched the numbers, and actually give you, in clear, legible, easy to understand dashboards, what's going on from a profitability point of view, from an e-commerce point of view, from a marketing point of view, and from a finance point of view. From there, I think, is where it gets really interesting in the insights and recommendations piece. So the insights and recommendations piece is where we're going to actually recommend insights and recommendations. For instance, okay, we look at your Facebook ROAS. Your Facebook ROAS has increased or decreased by 20% this week. So we give you a framework for every data point on the platform. So we give you your insight, your definition as to what the metric is, and also some recommendations on what you could potentially do to improve that. So I think it's a really, really valuable tool, because, like you kind of touched on there, integrations is such an issue because there is so many out there now. And it's not that business owners don't understand the data, they definitely do, but having it scattered across so many different places, it's getting more and more increased. It's more and more difficult really to actually understand your own business and what you've left at the end of the day. Because obviously with inflation and the price of ads going up, e-commerce by its nature, it's not traditional at all. So it's I think it's really important to have a centralized kind of source of truth to make kind of objective business decisions on how to ultimately improve your profitability.
Fantastic. So let's talk about your company, Storehero. Okay. I know you are the co-founder of Storehero, the profit first e-commerce analytics tool. Can you just tell us how can you, help those decision makers, to increase their ROI, to increase their online store conversion?
Yeah, great point. So again, it comes back to the insights and recommendations piece. So we have insights and recommendations to break down your Shopify setup, your Facebook ads, your Google ads. So as you're logging into Storehero every day, that you will not only see a wall of numbers in front of you, but that you will see, okay, these are the important things to look out for. There's going to be there's a weighted priority there on each of the metrics. So you'll see, okay, this needs attention, that doesn't need attention, this is working, this isn't working. If it isn't working, what can I do about it to improve it? Which I think is incredibly important. On top of that, we do obviously have a mobile app that you can log in, so you have all this data at your fingertips every day. Along with that, you'll have a morning email. So when you log onto your phone in the morning, you have an email to see, okay, this is my total sales from yesterday. This is my marketing spend across my different channels. Here's my average ROAS. Here's my new cost per customer acquisition, and actually a mini P&L of what happened the day before. Going back to, I suppose, a lot of business owners, and this is something I saw at Shopify all the time, was business owners are relying on their accountant for their financial data to help them out and to help them make decisions on how to improve their store. But a lot of the time, more times than not, the accountant that they're relying on isn't, not that they're not schooled on the nuances of unit economics as they relate to e-commerce stores, which I think is a really important point. Because say, for instance, your business is starting to decline slightly, the accountant might say to you, okay, we need to pull back on your advertising spend. But unless you have actually worked out the unit economics on a granular level, and you're profitable above a 2 ROAS or a 2.3 ROAS or whatever it is, turning off those ads and actually decreasing your spend could ultimately lead to a death knell for your business. So what we've done at Storehero is actually enable you to see your profit on an order level, and then actually your break-even point ROAS on an order level. So the break-even point ROAS will enable you to see your true COGS, so your product costs, any other ancillary costs that go with getting that product out the door, and your transaction fee, and then give you a break-even point ROAS. So for the first time, you not only see your list of products, but you also know, okay, if I'm going to run a campaign for this product, I'd love to know what the minimum number I need to see in my ads manager to make sure this ad is profitable. So I think Storehero does that, and I think it's really important for business owners for finance people to understand the marketing side of things, but also for marketing people to understand the unit economics of the finances they need to hit. We've also introduced some interesting pieces around every day when you log in, you can see your most profitable orders and your least profitable orders. So obviously through the lens of profitability, what we want to enable you to do is to see what's working, to do a lot more of it. But I think just as importantly, when we talk about profitability, you need to understand where you're leaking margin as well, and maybe the orders that aren't making money. So if you have your UTM parameters set up, we can attribute ad spend on an order level. So you can see obviously the orders that are working, but the problem orders. So maybe you have a Facebook or a Google ad running that is costing you a hell of a lot more money than you might have thought. Maybe you're not actually aware that when you have a free shipping discount and a welcome 10 discount both live at the same time, that you're actually losing money when you take the ad spend into account. Maybe you have not set your priced in your shipping up into Germany correctly. You may have actually just set up the product price wrong. I've seen that happen so many times. So through the lens of profitability, I do think it's important to spot the problems and deal with them, particularly as a small to medium-sized enterprise. You can't afford, particularly in today's e-commerce game, to have problem orders leaking your margin and ultimately causing havoc for your business. Hello.
Fantastic. So if you would like to connect with Thomas, you can, do so. So here is his email address. Okay, Thomas@storehero.ea. Also, you can have his direct, LinkedIn profile. Okay. So Thomas, it has been a pleasure to have you in the show, and you really share interesting information regarding the e-commerce trends for 2023.
Will, thank you very, very much for having me on. I really, really enjoyed chatting to you. And yeah, thanks very much for having me on, and I wish you all the best for 2023.
Thank you very much.